Lance Leipold is setting a new standard for most programs in college football as Kansas gets a big gift. Why it's important? What does it mean for your team? It's coming up today on the College Countdown. I am Josh Neighbors, your host here on 365 Sports and Rogue Media Networks. Today's topic, guys, is an interesting one. Kansas getting a $300 million gift. And I think it's such a good example of the way college football programs can change. You don't have to go to a college football playoff to be experiencing success that could be program changing. You don't have to do what Arizona State did. You don't have to do what Indiana did. I think it's an interesting topic to tackle. So make sure you all subscribe to the channel. Make sure you all like the video, all of those things. And please let me know what you all think about these videos as well. Your comments are the best things that happen to the show. Give us ideas about what to talk about, what not to talk about. So really the big thing here, the big story, I guess we should say, is that Kansas is getting football upgrades now because of a $300 million gift. This is from Max Olson at ESPN. University of Kansas has received an unprecedented $300 million gift from a donor, David Booth, believed to be among the largest single gifts in college athletics history and the largest in school history. Kansas plans to allocate $75 million of Booth's gift toward launching a second phase of its ongoing transformation of David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium and construction of the surrounding Gateway District, Kansas. The AD Travis Goff said to ESPN. Though school officials have not revealed a timetable for construction and completion of Phase 2, the funds will be allow Kansas to move forward renovating the east side of the stadium after the 2025 season. Also, the remainder of Booth's gift will establish additional revenue stream for Kansas athletics. So the reason why I want to discuss this is because a majority of college football teams, actually a majority of the power conference teams, are not in the top tier, right? They are not your Ohio States, your Texases, your Alabamas, your Georgias, whatever else you want to get, Clemson, whatever you want to say, right? And most programs are somewhere in the middle. And with the way college football has now changed, if you want to compete, if you want to punch above your weight class, you need money. And the money comes from a coach that inspires investment. Colin Cowherd is one of the best in the industry, guys, about making comparisons in sports to something outside of sports. But this is the one where he makes the most sense. This is a political one. This is candidates that you believe in will generate the most money. Barack Obama, Donald Trump, those are guys that raised a crap ton of cash as they went along. Bernie Sanders even too, it raised a crap ton of cash, along the way because they had a good message. They have something that you can believe in. And the thing about Lance Leipold at Kansas is he has tangible results before, tangible results right now. You think about where Kansas football was when Lance Leipold took over. It was in the dumpster. We saw some better players under Les Miles, but we had not seen a lot of sustained success. And when Lance Leipold takes over, the one thing that we knew about him from his days at Whitewater and from his days also at Buffalo is that he will adapt his team to what his roster does well. And another big thing, he did something innovative. All right, he did something innovative with Andy Kotelnicki's offense and what they brought in there. And because of that, he created something that had not been seen at Kansas, and I'm not sure there's school's history. And I remember when I talked to Jesse Newell, who now covers the Chiefs, the KC Star, covered Kansas at the time. What he told me was in the first 3 years, if Lance Leipold won more than 5 games, they should build him a statue. And he was not being, he was being, tongue in cheek, but like the whole point would be the accomplishment would be really, it'd be an accomplishment. It'd be really impressive. And, I thought about that and watched the way they built. That first season, they were not very, they were competitive, in the first half, not the second half of games. And at the end of the year, they started becoming competitive. And then after that, the following season, they go 6-7, lose to Arkansas Liberty Bowl. They then go 9-4. And not only was that 9-4 impressive on its surface, it was mostly impressive because Jalen Daniels, their quarterback, got injured. KU is not a team that's got a lot of depth. But the fact they were able to absorb their star quarterback getting hurt and still able to win 9 games, 9 of the 13 games they played, showed you what they built as a program. They went 5-7 last year, but the fact that it wasn't a cratering 5-7 is fine. Like, he's had 4 seasons at Kansas, and in total, he has won 22 games. at KU. You average that out, right? I mean, let's see, 22 divided by 4, whatever the hell it is, right? I mean, it's like nearly 5 wins a year. That is not the way things were at KU before. And he's had, seasons where last year in the Big 12, he was 4-5. In the 9-win season, he was 5-4. So it wasn't like some crazy big drop off in terms of conference performance. And it was another year where, the quarterback play for them was up and down. And so I think for KU, like they've obviously found somebody is having success there. And what they've done in turn is invest. Second phase of a rebuild or, a stadium build. This is a place where they were letting kids in at halftime, letting people in at halftime of the Oklahoma game a few years ago. And they're now building their facility into something that makes it an actual facility, a place that you want to go, a destination spot to go to KU football. That is because of the man in charge. They believe in the vision. They believe in the goal. The players obviously believe in him too. And that's what it takes. Covering football in Arkansas, like people want to know why the Hogs are good, like why aren't they good? Well, they don't invest any money. I mean, their basketball program got the full renovation money-wise, blank check basically from John Tyson of Tyson's Chicken for Cal and for his players. And that was massive for them. It's harder for football, but guess what? They just got a massive donation here for KU. Arkansas does not have that at the University of Arkansas. And that is what you need. Like, if you want to have people believe in it, you need people like Kenny Dillingham. And Kenny Dillingham, we saw him stumping on Twitter the other day saying, wow, the number 11 preseason team in the country needs to make sure that their practice facility is, nice indoors. I forgot exactly what he said, but that was his point. And that's what you need, like somebody who is an advocate, somebody who will stand for the program, somebody who will make, who proves it on the field, somebody who will fight in press conferences and whatnot. All of that stuff is what you need. It doesn't have to be a certain kind of coach. It doesn't have to be a young guy, right? It could be a Chris Kleinman. It could be a Lance Leipold. It could be a Kenny Dillingham. It could be a Matt Campbell. It could be, a Shane Beamer, right? And like the guys who can take hard jobs but make people believe it's possible. South Carolina is a very difficult job. The amount of belief in Shane Beamer right now in that job is very, very high, as it should be, for what he's accomplished. It's a difficult job. And so I think that's what a lot of folks are missing, a lot of these conversations that we have about, like, why isn't my program good? You need investment. And not everybody has money, but look, like Ole Miss, Mississippi is one of the poorest states in the entire country. They have 2 SEC schools, but Ole Miss was able to generate a lot of cash because they've got a coach that both their basketball and football programs. Like Ole Miss cannot do better than Lane Kiffin and Chris Beard at the same time too, especially for their coaches. That's as good as it gets. And they have spent the commiserate amount of money to make sure those guys feel like they've got the resources with their roster, with their facilities, all that stuff to compete at the highest level. And a lot of schools don't have that. But the thing is like, this is on ADs to nail the hires. You've got to get the right guys. You got to get guys who can identify talent as well, but also guys people believe in. It's not easy. It is not. It's 100% not easy. And success looks different all the time in all of these different ways and places. But, you have to hire like the right guy. Like you can't argue that things are not going really well at Syracuse with Fran Brown. It's a tough job, man. He's doing well. People believe in him. People actually believe, in what he's got to say. Kenny Dillingham is the upper echelon example at Oregon, but you got to find your Kenny Dillingham in some ways. At Florida, I love the way they've been patient with a Billy Napier. He's got to make or break this year, but they've been patient enough with him this season, to this point. Same thing for Tech and Joey McGuire, and they're pouring money into the program left and right, but they're giving him the opportunity to sink or swim, to show what they can do, to show what he can do at that program with the right money, with those connections that he's got with the high school folks in Texas. So I think that this is an example of a school that is a basketball-first school, a consistent title contender and a title threat, every single year, as they should be, with Bill Self, a Hall of Fame coach. And what they've now said about football is we care because they got the right guy. And he wasn't a young progressive hire. He was progressive in the sense of, I'm going to adapt what I do to my roster. I am not stuck doing one thing. I will get these kids. I will coach these kids. They will believe in what we're doing. They'll believe in our coordinators. Andy Kotelnicki's at Penn State now, and I think he's been, he's dialing it up. He's got a future as a head coach. What a gifted play caller. And, also their defense, not very good, but like, it's they've had playmakers, and that's kind of their defense's nature, is it's a playmaking defense. It's not a strong defense because they don't have the personnel to do that. But they've built personnel on offense that have been really impressive. Like the fact that they had Jason Bean, a track star, backing up Jalen Daniels, a guy that we all think is pretty good. And they put Daniel Highshaw, and they put, in the backfield also Devin Neal, back there, and they had a good receiving core. Like they were developing and retaining talent because of the amount of money they've invested. And their facilities are not there yet, but they're going to be, at a strong level in the Big 12 because of what they're investing. And so I think it's a kind of a message to all the middling programs that, like, you got to find a guy to invest in. People shouldn't have to just give money. They should be inspired to give the money for your program to be good. I totally believe that. And I think Lance Leipold and Kansas are showing that. Like a 9-win season is great. And this is actually coming after a 5-win year. They didn't go to a bowl game last year, but they know they've got the guy. And Missouri did a little bit similar to this when, that they were going 6 wins, but they gave the money to Drinkwitz, and he built an awesome roster with it. And, you got to figure out what kind of coach you are. Like, I don't think Eli Drinkwitz is knocking kids down with his unbelievable personality, but he's funny. He's got a plan. He's got an idea, and he's got backing. And, backing looks different for every single coach, but Lance Leipold's got it. Drinkwitz has it. And so, Lane Kiffin's got it. And so these programs that aren't usually reaching certain heights are able to do it a little bit more consistently because of who the coaches are and because of what they're inspiring money-wise. So I think KU is a great example of what can happen, even at a school that's a football or basketball first school with bad football facilities. The bad football facilities are about to go by the wayside. Also, things that happened, we had the Associated Press All-American All-Time Team. This one was a fascinating one. So for offense, this is the last 100 years, I believe, is what they did. So let's see. Associated Press All-Time America First Team. Okay. Offense. This is kind of where it's already interesting. Tim Tebow, the year they list, 2007. So I can't tell if they're just accounting for 1 year. But they have 95, 96 for Orlando Pace at the tackle. Bill Fralick, 82 to 84. For Barry Sanders, they have 88, but for Herschel Walker, they have 80 to 82. So they're crediting 1 year in some and then multiple years in others, but besides the point. Their number one quarterback was Tim Tebow. So I don't have a problem with this. I don't think it's some travesty, but I don't think he's the right guy for that spot. I really don't. I think that if you're going to go one season, Cam Newton. They did first team and second team. They did Vince Young second team. I'd go with Cam. 100% go with Cam. The issue I have is, look, Cam versus Tebow is a great debate. It's a great conversation. I'm a Cam Newton guy just because the quality around him wasn't as good. But they've got Vince Young for 2005 at number 2. Man, I get it. But Cam's Auburn season, where he threw for 2,800 yards, 30 touchdowns, 7 picks, ran for 20 touchdowns and 1,473 yards. Vince Young in a 1,000-yard rushing season was a little bit more efficient, but Cam was still 5+ yards per carry. To me, it does not make a whole lot of sense for Vince Young to be ahead of Cam Newton. And once again, I'll fight this one too. I think Tim Tebow should be behind Cam as well. If we're taking single seasons, that Cam Newton season, in context of what he had around him, is a single best season, I think, in my opinion, in history. And look, you go and you look at those, that Tebow season that they picked out. He threw for 21 touchdowns, 5 picks. 32 touchdowns and 6 picks on 3,200 yards, and then also had 23 rushing touchdowns. Now, let's see, yards per carry. It was 210 for 895. So really good stuff there too. Good enough. But he had so much more talent around him, right? I mean, you're talking about this Cam Newton year, where he's got Ricardo Lewis. I mean, he has 50 total touchdowns and then over, 4,000 yards, 4,200 yards, 4,300 yards of offense, over 4,300 yards of offense, and 50 touchdowns. On a team that had nobody else on offense go to the league, that is singular, that is special, that is, to me, elevated above what Vince Young did. And I'm not saying that it's a bad player, but Vince Young had 36 total touchdowns his senior year and 10 interceptions. Now he totaled over 4,000 yards of offense. It was amazing, had that signature moment. But like, I think that signature moment stands out far too much in this conversation. And look, once again, it's subjective. It's the Associated Press poll. But like, yeah, I don't see how you could put Vince Young, especially above Cam Newton, and I would put Cam above Tebow too. Although it's a fun debate. It's a fun debate to have. Other guys on this list, the 1 and 2 running backs. I mean, how are you going to argue with Herschel Walker and Barry Sanders? Brock Bowers got listed as tight end, which I think is interesting because it's so recent on that first team. Your receivers first team were Randy Moss and Larry Fitzgerald. Badass. And then the offensive line doesn't really matter as much on that front. But first, defense, Hugh Green of Pitt, Randy White as your edges, and Ndamukong Suh, and then Bronco Nagurski, 1929, Minnesota. So it's funny, you got Suh from 09, and then Nagurski from 29, 80 years apart, those two. Linebackers, how about this trio first team? Dick Butkus, Derek Thomas, and Chris Spielman. Your corners, Charles Woodson and Deion Sanders. Your safeties, Ronnie Lott and Ed Reed. And then your punter is Torrey Taylor for the first team as well. Recent, getting some love. And then it's funny because on the second team is another Iowa punter. I forget his name. I forget who it was. But Iowa punters being well represented there as well, which is pretty funny. They've got, they've snuck onto the list, but just at the punting position. All right, folks, this is it for non-game week. I mean, it is game week next week. It's a big one. It's a top 25 clash. It's Farmageddon, Iowa State and Kansas State from Aer Lingus Stadium in Ireland. And this is a great game to start off the year with because it's got implications. Like, these two teams want to vie for a Big 12 championship, and this could be a huge tiebreaker in the race. I know you're going to end the first week 0-1 in conference for two. The Georgia Tech last year was great. It was fun, but nobody thought they contend, right? This is going to be a crucial battle in the Big 12 championship race. One of these two teams will be competing for a spot. I'd be surprised if one of these two teams did not make the Big 12 championship game. And so we'll be covering that all week, talking about that all week, and trying to get my boss, Justin Akery, on, Iowa State guy. He's going to Aer Lingus Stadium for the game. So we'll try to get that, talk about that. But, man, we're back to game week. This is the last non-game week we have. We've got 5 games. I believe it's 5 next Saturday. Let's see. Iowa State, Kansas State, Idaho State, UNLV, Fresno State, Kansas, Sam Houston State, and Western Kentucky, and then Stanford and Hawaii. And I mean, we got a game on ESPN, we got a game on CBS, we got a game on Fox. Big 12 prominently featured in that first weekend with 3 of their teams in action. And it obviously ends with the night game, the Hawaii game, which it always does in week number 0. Folks, we are a week away right now from being on the eve of college football being back. Cannot wait. Glad you're all with us. College Countdown. Make sure you all follow us on Twitter at CC Podcast JN. I'm at Josh Neighbors _ on Twitter. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts on the comment section as well. All right, folks, we'll talk at you all next week.